Commander Vex 9 adjusted his mandibles in what humans might call a smirk. Oh, how wrong they all were about the newest addition to the Galactic Defense Academy. The small, pale creature sitting in the corner of the lecture hall looked about as threatening as a Zephyrian dust mite. Her name was Luna Reeves, and she had been the subject of endless mockery since her arrival 3 rotations ago. "Look at that pathetic thing," whispered Cadet Thorn Alpha, his 6 eyes gleaming with amusement. "I heard humans are supposed to be these legendary warriors, but this one hasn't said a single word since she got here." Vex 9 had to admit, the rumors about human combat prowess seemed greatly exaggerated. Luna sat motionless, her strange blue orbs fixed on the holographic display showing advanced combat formations. While other cadets took notes on their neural interfaces, she simply watched. No notes, no questions, no participation whatsoever. Instructor Kelm Prime, a towering Rigelian with scales that shifted color based on his mood, was currently a frustrated shade of orange. "Miss Reeves," he boomed, his voice echoing through the chamber, "perhaps you would care to demonstrate the Vorthan assault pattern we just reviewed?" Silence. The other cadets snickered. Zara Voss, a Centaurian with metallic skin, leaned forward in her seat. "Maybe she doesn't understand our language, instructor." "I heard humans are quite primitive." More laughter rippled through the assembled students. Vex 9 watched Luna's face carefully. Most species would show some sign of embarrassment, anger, or at least confusion. The human showed nothing. Her expression remained as blank as empty space. "Very well." Kellum Prime's scales shifted to an annoyed red. "Since Miss Reeves seems uninterested in participating, perhaps Cadet Thorn Alpha would demonstrate instead." Thorn Alpha stood with obvious pride, his multiple arms moving in perfect synchronization as he activated the training hologram. The simulation showed him executing a flawless Vorthan pattern, his movements precise and calculated. The other cadets applauded appreciatively. "Excellent form!" Kellum Prime's scales returned to a pleased green. "This is what dedication looks like, cadets. Take notes." Vex 9 noticed Luna's eyes, tracking every movement of the demonstration, but she remained silent as a tomb. What was going through that strange human mind? He had studied their species extensively before her arrival. According to the files, humans were supposed to be emotional, talkative creatures who bonded through social interaction. Luna Reeves seemed to be the exact opposite of everything their research indicated. The weeks passed, and Luna's reputation as the Academy's most useless cadet only grew. During physical training, she performed adequately, but never excelled. In tactical studies, she absorbed information, but never contributed. Most telling of all, during sparring sessions, she was always paired with the weakest opponents and told to take it easy. "We can't risk injuring her," Instructor Zan Beta had explained to the other trainers, thinking Luna was out of earshot. "Humans are fragile compared to the rest of us. One wrong move from a Corellian or a Vegan, and we'll be scraping her off the training mat." Vex 9 had been present for that conversation and seen Luna's reaction. Or rather, her complete lack of reaction. Most species would protest such treatment, demand a fair chance to prove themselves. Not Luna. She simply continued her exercises as if nothing had been said. The breaking point came during a routine combat assessment. Each cadet was required to demonstrate their species' unique fighting techniques for evaluation. The performances had been spectacular. Zara Voss moved like liquid mercury, her metallic form shifting and flowing around her opponent's attacks. Thorn Alpha's 6-armed style was a thing of beauty, creating patterns so complex They looked like deadly artwork. Then it was Luna's turn. She stood in the center of the training ring, looking smaller than ever surrounded by the towering alien cadets. Instructor Kelm Prime consulted his datapad with obvious reluctance. "Miss Reeves, please demonstrate human martial techniques." His tone suggested he expected very little. Luna took a breath. Then, for the first time since arriving at the academy, she spoke. "Which ones?" Her voice was quiet, almost musical, but somehow it carried perfectly across the silent training hall. The other cadets leaned forward, surprised to hear actual words coming from their mysterious classmate. Kelm Prime's scales flickered through several colors as he processed this unexpected response. "Ah, well, whatever your species considers standard combat forms, I suppose." Luna nodded once. Understood. What happened next would be debated in academy corridors for cycles to come. Luna moved. It wasn't the flowing grace of a Vegan warrior or the calculated precision of a Rigelian fighter. It was something altogether different, something primal and terrifying in its simplicity. Her first strike was a basic human punch, aimed at a training drone. The impact created a sonic boom that shattered 3 windows and sent shockwaves through the floor. The drone, designed to withstand attacks from species with strength ratings triple that of humans, simply ceased to exist. The silence that followed was absolute. Luna straightened, brushing imaginary dust from her training uniform. "That's basic boxing. Would you like to see karate next?" Vex 9's translator implant struggled to process the word karate. His database indicated it was one of hundreds of human fighting disciplines, but the files had listed them as primitive and ineffective compared to modern combat techniques. Kelm Prime's scales had gone completely white, a color Vex 9 had never seen before. That won't be necessary, Miss Reeves." But Luna was already moving. Her legs snapped up in a perfect arc, connecting with a heavy training bag suspended from the ceiling. The bag, filled with dense Corellian sand and designed to withstand punishment from the Academy's strongest cadets, exploded in a shower of golden particles. "Taekwondo," Luna said simply, as sand rained down around her. "There's also Judo, Aikido, Muay Thai, Krav Maga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu." She paused, apparently running through a mental list. "Oh, and that's just empty hand techniques. Did you want to see weapons demonstrations too?" The training hall remained frozen in stunned silence. Several cadets had their mouths hanging open, which looked particularly ridiculous on species with multiple jaws. Zara Voss was the first to recover her voice. "Impossible. Our scans showed humans have minimal physical capabilities compared to our species." Luna turned those unsettling blue eyes toward the Centaurian. "Your scans were probably right. I'm not particularly strong or fast by human standards." This statement sent a ripple of nervous laughter through the assembled cadets. Surely she was joking. She had to be joking. "Miss Reeves," Kelm Prime's voice cracked slightly, "if you don't mind me asking, what exactly are human standards?" Luna considered the question seriously. "Well, on my homeworld, I was considered average in most physical categories, maybe slightly below average in strength. I was never selected for our military special forces because I lacked the necessary intensity." Vex 9 felt his breathing apparatus constrict. If Luna was below average by human standards, what were their elite soldiers capable of? His research files suddenly seemed woefully inadequate. "Perhaps," he found himself saying, "you could tell us more about these special forces you mentioned?" Luna's expression remained neutral, but something shifted in her eyes. For just a moment, Vex 9 glimpsed something that made his survival instincts scream warnings. "They're called many things," Luna said quietly. "Rangers, SEALs, Marines, Delta Force. Each group has different specialties, but they all share certain characteristics." She paused, and in that pause, the temperature in the training hall seemed to drop several degrees. "They're very good at breaking things that need to be broken." The implications of that statement hit Vex 9 like a plasma bolt to the thorax. If Luna was average, and there were humans specifically bred and trained for warfare, by all the moons of Vega, what had the Galactic Council gotten themselves into by inviting humanity into their alliance? Instructor Kelm Prime seemed to be thinking along the same lines. His scales were cycling rapidly through colors, settling into a pattern that indicated deep concern mixed with calculation. "Miss Reeves, I believe we've seen quite enough for today. Perhaps you would be willing to meet with our advanced combat instructors tomorrow for additional assessment?" Luna nodded politely. "Of course, instructor. Should I prepare any specific demonstrations?" The question was asked with such innocent sincerity that it was somehow more terrifying than any threat could have been. We'll let you know," Kelm Prime managed. As the training session ended and cadets began filing out of the hall, Vex 9 noticed their behavior toward Luna had completely changed. Where before there had been mockery and dismissal, now there were careful glances and respectful distances. The small human walked alone, as she always had, but now it seemed less like isolation and more like space. The kind of space you gave to something dangerous that you didn't fully understand. Vex 9 lingered after the others had left, watching Luna as she gathered her minimal belongings. She moved with the same economical precision she'd shown during her demonstration, every action serving a purpose. "Miss Reeves," he called out as she reached the exit. She turned, those blue eyes focusing on him with an intensity that made him want to check his vital signs. "Yes, Commander? Why haven't you spoken before now? Why let the others think you were less capable than you are?" Luna considered the question for a long moment. When she answered, her voice carried a weight that seemed far too heavy for someone so young. "Because talking is easy, Commander. Anyone can make noise. But when the time comes to act." She paused at the doorway, not looking back. "Well, actions tend to speak for themselves, don't they?" With that, she was gone, leaving Vex 9 alone in the damaged training hall with a growing certainty that everything the Galactic Council thought they knew about humans was terribly, dangerously wrong. Later that evening, Vex 9 found himself in the Academy's secure communication center, placing an encrypted call to High Command. The conversation was brief and to the point. "Sir, we may have a situation with the human exchange student. Problems with integration, Commander? We expected some cultural difficulties." Vex 9 looked at the repair crews still working to fix the damage Luna had caused with two simple movements. "Not integration problems, sir. The opposite, actually. I think we severely underestimated what we were dealing with." "Explain." "Sir, I recommend we immediately review all intelligence regarding human military capabilities. What we have on file is either incomplete or deliberately misleading." There was a long pause before High Command responded. "Are you suggesting the humans lied during first contact?" Vex 9 thought about Luna's quiet intensity, her casual mention of special forces, the way she had described herself as below average. "No, sir. I don't think they lied. I think they just didn't volunteer the whole truth." "Commander, you're talking about a species that claims to have only recently developed interstellar flight. They're barely out of their home system. Yes, sir. But they've had their entire evolutionary history to perfect the art of warfare on a single, highly competitive world. We've been so focused on their technology that we forgot to ask about their biology, their psychology, their methodology. Another pause. Send me your full report within the hour, Commander. And, Commander? Yes, sir? Keep a very close eye on Miss Reeves. If your assessment is correct, we need to know exactly what we're dealing with before the hegemony discovers we've been harboring a potential weapon of mass destruction in our most prestigious academy. Vex 9 ended the call and leaned back in his chair. Through the viewport, he could see Luna in the academy gardens, sitting quietly on a bench beneath alien stars. She looked so small, so harmless. But now he knew better. Now he knew that sometimes the most dangerous predators were the ones that stayed perfectly still, until they decided it was time to move. And when that time came, Vex 9 had the sinking feeling that everyone would finally understand why Luna Reeves had never needed to say a word. Her actions were about to speak volumes. 3 days had passed since Luna's demonstration, and the Corellian hegemony had chosen the worst possible moment to launch their surprise attack. Commander Vex 9 sprinted through the Academy's emergency corridors as alarm klaxons wailed overhead. His enhanced hearing picked up the distinctive whine of hegemony dropships cutting through the atmosphere like deadly meteorites. Of all the rotten timing in the galaxy, they had to attack now, when half the Academy's defense systems were down for routine maintenance. "Status report," he barked into his communication device as he reached the command center. 17 hegemony assault craft incoming, replied Lieutenant Quinn 7, her tentacles dancing across multiple control panels simultaneously. "Estimated landing in 4 minutes. They've jammed our long-range communications, so no reinforcements are coming." Vex 9 cursed in 3 different languages. The Academy held over 200 cadets from 47 different species, representing the children of the galaxy's most important political and military leaders. If the hegemony captured or killed them, it would cripple the Galactic Alliance's unity for generations. Evacuation status? Civilian transport capacity is limited. We can maybe get 60% of the cadets out before the hegemony establishes orbital control, which meant 40% would be trapped. Vex 9's mandibles clicked rapidly as he calculated their odds. The Academy's remaining defense systems could maybe hold off a full assault for 30 minutes. After that, "Sir," Quinn 7's voice carried a note of confusion. "There's something odd about the attack pattern. They're not targeting our defensive installations first. They're heading straight for the main Academy complex." Vex 9 felt his blood chill. "They're after the cadets specifically. This isn't a random strike. It's a targeted kidnapping operation." The implications hit him like a fusion bomb. The hegemony had been planning this for months, waiting for the perfect moment when the Academy's defenses would be at their weakest. They intended to take hostages, leverage them against the Alliance governments. "Begin immediate evacuation of all non-combat personnel," he ordered. "Activate all remaining defense protocols and—" An explosion rocked the command center, sending sparks cascading from overhead systems. Through the reinforced viewports, Vex 9 could see the first wave of hegemony soldiers rappelling from their ships, their powered armor gleaming in the Academy's emergency lighting. "Contact lost with sectors 7 through 12, reported another technician. "They're moving fast, sir." Faster than our projections indicated. Vex 9 watched the tactical display with growing horror. Red dots representing enemy forces were spreading through the Academy like a virus. Each dot represented a squad of Corellian shock troops, genetically enhanced warriors bred specifically for assault operations. Then he remembered something that made his breathing apparatus seize up entirely. "Where's Luna Reeves?" Quinn Seven's tentacles paused their frantic dancing. "The human!" Last sensor reading showed her in the Eastern Dormitory Complex. Sector 9. Sector 9. Which was now completely overrun with hegemony forces. "Sir," one of the technicians called out, "we're receiving a broadcast from the hegemony commander." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the scarred visage of General Krex Prime, the hegemony's most notorious military leader. His cybernetic implants glowed red against his mottled skin as he spoke. "Attention Academy personnel. You are now under Corellian authority. Surrender immediately, and your students will be treated according to interstellar conventions. Resist, and we will be forced to use less diplomatic methods." The transmission cut out, leaving the command center in tense silence. "Diplomatic methods," Vex 9 muttered bitterly. "Right, because the hegemony is known for their gentle touch." "Sir, what are your orders?" Vex 9 stared at the tactical display, watching the red dots continue their methodical advance. In a few minutes, they would reach the main assembly hall where most of the cadets had been gathered for emergency evacuation. After that, "We fight," he said quietly. "Activate all combat personnel. Every instructor. Every advanced student who can hold a weapon. We buy time for as many evacuations as possible." But even as he gave the orders, Vex 9 knew it was hopeless. They were outnumbered 5-1 by professional soldiers with superior equipment. The best they could do was make the hegemony pay dearly for their victory. The next 20 minutes passed in a blur of frantic activity. Reports flooded in from across the academy as small groups of defenders engaged the invaders. The news was uniformly bad. The hegemony forces were cutting through their resistance like plasma through paper. "Sir," Quinn Seven's voice was strained. "They've reached the main assembly hall. They're rounding up the cadets." On the security monitors, Vex 9 watched in helpless fury as Corellian soldiers herded frightened students into containment areas. Zara Voss tried to resist and was stunned unconscious. Thorn Alpha's 6 arms were restrained with energy shackles that left him writhing in pain. "Any word from the Eastern dormitories?" Vex 9 asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Nothing, sir." Complete communication blackout in that sector. Which meant Luna was either captured, dead, or what? What could one small human do against an entire squad of Corellian shock troops? The question was answered 30 seconds later, when every sensor in the eastern sector suddenly went offline simultaneously. "What just happened?" Vex 9 demanded. I don't know, sir. It's like someone just shut down every electronic system in that entire section of the academy." "Equipment failure?" "Negative. This is too precise, too coordinated. Someone with extensive technical knowledge would need to—" Quinn Seven's tentacles froze over her controls. In the sudden silence, a new sound became audible through the academy's structure. It was faint at first, but growing steadily louder. Screaming, but not from academy personnel. It was coming from the hegemony forces in the eastern sector. "Sir," the technician's voice was barely above a whisper, "I'm picking up scattered transmissions from hegemony units in Sector 9. They're calling for immediate reinforcements." "From one human girl?" Vex 9's translator struggled with the concept. "Sir, you need to hear this." The technician patched through a broken transmission from a Corellian squad leader. The voice was filled with a panic that Vex 9 had never heard from hegemony forces. "Command, this is Unit 12. We need immediate backup in the eastern dormitories. The target is... she's not..." By the void. She's not normal. She's taken out half our squad with her bare hands. Request immediate. Exclamation mark. The transmission cut to static. Vex 9 felt something cold settle in his stomach. How many soldiers did we assign to Sector 9? 2 full squads, sir. 24 Corellian shock troops. 24. Against 1 supposedly average human. Another transmission crackled through, this one even more fragmented. She's in the walls! How is she in the walls? Command, she's moving through the ventilation systems like some kind of contact! Contact! She's... No, that's impossible. Nobody moves that fast. Silence. Then another voice, different squad. Unit 7 reporting. We've lost contact with Units 12 and 15. Proceeding to investigate. Target appears to be a single human female, approximately... Wait. Where did she... Behind you! Behind. Static. The command center had gone completely quiet. Every eye was fixed on Vex 9 as he processed what they were hearing. Luna Reeves, the silent girl who had never spoken unless asked a direct question, was systematically dismantling professional Corellian assault troops. Sir, Quinn 7's voice was barely audible. I'm reading massive structural damage in the eastern sector. It's like someone's tearing the building apart from the inside. With what weapons? That's just it, sir. I'm not detecting any energy signatures consistent with conventional weapons. Whatever she's using, it's primitive. Primitive. Like boxing. Like karate. Like all those human martial arts Luna had casually mentioned. A new transmission burst through their speakers, this one from General Krex Prime himself. All units, converge on Sector 9 immediately. Priority Alpha threat. The human is to be terminated on sight. Do not attempt capture. Repeat, terminate on sight. The change in tone was remarkable. 20 minutes ago, Krex Prime had been calmly demanding surrender. Now he sounded like a predator who had suddenly realized he was being hunted. Sir, the technician called out, I'm picking up movement in Sector 9. Something big. On the security monitors still functioning in adjacent areas, they could see the results of Luna's passage. Walls had been punched through like paper. Blast doors designed to stop heavy weapons hung twisted off their hinges and scattered throughout the wreckage. Are those Corellian power armor suits? Quinn 7 asked in disbelief. Empty ones, torn open like metal flowers, their former occupants nowhere to be seen. Vex 9's communication device crackled to life with an incoming transmission. But this wasn't from any of his people or the hegemony forces. It was coming from inside the academy, from the eastern sector, from Luna. Commander Vex 9. Her voice was the same quiet, musical tone he remembered, but now there was something else beneath it. Something that made his survival instincts scream. I need you to open the main assembly hall doors in exactly 3 minutes. Miss Reeves? How are you? 3 minutes, Commander. The students need clear exit routes for evacuation. But the hegemony forces won't be a problem much longer. The transmission ended, leaving Vex 9 staring at his communication device in stunned silence. Sir, Quinn 7's tentacles were trembling as she monitored her sensors. I'm reading massive movement in the central corridors. The remaining hegemony forces they're retreating toward the main assembly hall. Retreating? From what? His answer came in the form of another panicked transmission from the Corellian forces. She's herding us. The human is herding us like livestock. Every time we try to break off, she blocks our path. Command, what are your orders? Krex Prime's response was immediate and filled with barely controlled fury. Hold position. Fortify the assembly hall. Use the students as shields if necessary. Vex 9 felt his heart skip several beats. If the hegemony forces took the cadets hostage, Luna's rampage would mean nothing. They would still win. But apparently, Luna had thought of that too. "Sir," the technician's voice was filled with awe. "You need to see this." On the main screen, a new image appeared. It was from a security camera positioned high in the Academy's main corridor, looking down at the central intersection where all major passages converged. Luna stood alone in the middle of the corridor. She looked exactly as she always had. Small, pale, unremarkable. Her academy uniform was torn in several places and stained with what looked suspiciously like alien blood, but her posture was relaxed, almost casual. Behind her, advancing down the corridor, came the remainder of the hegemony assault force. At least 60 soldiers in full combat armor, weapons raised and ready. Luna didn't move. "What is she doing?" Quinn 7 whispered. "She can't fight that many at once." Vex 9 remembered her words from their first conversation. Actions speak for themselves. But what action could possibly? Luna raised her right hand. It was a simple gesture, almost dismissive, like she was brushing away an annoying insect. What happened next would be studied by military tacticians for decades to come. The Corellian soldiers opened fire simultaneously, filling the corridor with enough destructive energy to level a city block. When the smoke and debris cleared, Luna was still standing, unharmed. But she was no longer alone. Around her, scattered throughout the corridor, lay the twisted remains of Corellian power armor. Some had been folded in half. Others looked like they had been compressed into geometric impossibilities. A few had simply been unraveled, their advanced alloys peeled apart like fruit. "How?" Quinn 7's voice cracked. "How is that possible?" Vex 9 stared at the image, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. Then he remembered something Luna had said during her combat demonstration. Something that hadn't fully registered at the time. She said she wasn't selected for her military's special forces because she lacked the necessary intensity. So? So what we just saw? That wasn't intensity. That was restraint. The implications hit the command center like a physical force. If Luna had been holding back, if what they had just witnessed was her being gentle. "Sir." Incoming transmission from the assembly hall. General Krex Prime's face appeared on screen again, but now his cybernetic implants were flickering erratically, and his scarred features were twisted with something Vex 9 had never seen in a Corellian before. Fear. "Academy Command, this is General Krex Prime. We are prepared to discuss terms for withdrawal." Terms for withdrawal. From a force that had been winning decisively just minutes before. "What terms?" Vex 9 asked, though he was fairly certain he already knew. "Immediate cessation of hostilities. Complete evacuation of hegemony forces. Return of all captured personnel." "And in exchange?" Krex Prime's eyes flickered toward something off-screen, and Vex 9 caught a glimpse of what looked like Luna walking calmly through the assembly hall doors. The general's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "In exchange, we leave quickly and quietly, and pretend this conversation never happened. And if we refuse, then we find out what happens when humans stop being polite." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in absolute silence. 15 minutes later, the last hegemony dropship lifted off from the Academy grounds. They left behind their dead, their equipment, and their reputation as the galaxy's most feared military force. Vex 9 found Luna in the Academy gardens, sitting on the same bench where he had seen her 3 nights before. She was reading a datapad, looking for all the world like a student catching up on homework. "Miss Reeves." "Commander." She looked up with those unsettling blue eyes. "Is everyone safe?" "Thanks to you, yes. The evacuation transports got everyone out safely." Luna nodded and returned to her reading. After a moment, Vex 9 realized she wasn't going to volunteer any explanation for what had happened. "The hegemony forces," he said carefully. "They seemed concerned about human capabilities. Humans can be concerning when properly motivated." "And what motivated you today?" Luna's eyes never left her datapad, but something in her expression shifted slightly. "They threaten children, Commander. That tends to bring out the worst in my species." "The worst?" Finally, she looked up at him directly. "We're a predator species, Commander. Apex predators from a world that tried very hard to kill us for millions of years. We survived by becoming very, very good at violence." She paused, considering her words carefully. "But we also survived by learning when not to use that violence. When to be civilized, cooperative, peaceful. Most humans go their entire lives without ever having to access the darker parts of their nature. And you. I spent 4 years in the human military before applying to your academy. I've accessed those parts before." Vex 9 thought about the systematically destroyed hegemony forces, the precise brutality of Luna's counterattack. "Is that why you never spoke before? Why you let the other cadets think you were weak?" Luna smiled for the first time since he had known her. It was a gentle expression that somehow made her seem even more dangerous than before. "Because, Commander, the most dangerous humans are the ones you never see coming." She stood, gathering her datapad and preparing to leave. "Miss Reeves, one final question. Your military special forces, the ones you mentioned, are they all like you?" Luna paused at the garden gate, not turning around. "No, Commander. They're much worse." With that, she was gone, leaving Vex 9 alone with the dawning realization that the Galactic Alliance had just gained its most powerful ally, and its most terrifying one. Later that evening, as repair crews worked to fix the extensive damage to the Academy, Vex 9 filed his final report to High Command. It was brief and to the point. Recommend immediate upgrade of human threat assessment from minimal to catastrophic. Also recommend we never, under any circumstances, give them a reason to be anything other than our very best friends. Because if today had taught him anything, it was that humans were exactly as dangerous as they chose to be. And Luna Reeves had chosen to be very dangerous indeed. The next morning, classes resumed at the academy. Luna returned to her usual seat in the corner, silent and unremarkable once again. But now, when other cadets looked at her, they saw something different. They saw exactly what she had always been. A human. And that, as it turned out, was quite enough.